반짝이는 눈빛 눈이 부셔 매일 날 감싸주는 손길.
Goo Ji-seok reviewed the documents Yoon Se-young had sent him. The information matched what he expected and he was pleased. However, the false details that Hwang Jin Goo had leaked had led Goo Ji-seok in wrong direction, and this mistake would soon be his downfall. Hwang Jin Goo, aware of Goo Ji-seok's mistake, decided it was time for a counter-attack. In a quiet moment, Hwang Jin Goo ordered his secretary to investigate Yoon Se-young's past, particularly her time studying in the US. He needed to know everything. After some time, the secretary returned with shocking news. Yoon Se-young had cohabited with Goo Ji-seok during her time in the US, and even more startling, she had given birth to his child, who was then immediately adopted. This revelation stunned Hwang Jin Goo, but he quickly gathered himself, holding the documents tightly. He now had the information he needed to take his next step. The hidden truths started coming to light, and the game was about to change. Late one evening, in the dimly lit office of Hyesung Hotel, Hwang Jin Goo stared down at the file on his desk. Thoughts of everything that had happened with Yoon Se-young overwhelmed him, and a storm of emotions took over. Clutching the file tightly, Hwang Jin Goo gritted his teeth and made up his mind. He stood up, ready to face what was coming. That night, Yoon Se-young received a call from him and entered the office. She walked in, her usual confident expression in place, but when she met Hwang Jin Goo's cold stare, she briefly showed panic. Even though she tried to speak calmly, Hwang Jin Goo's response was different this time. He ignored her words and threw the file down in front of her, challenging her to keep her confidence after seeing what was inside. Yoon Se-young hesitated, picked up the file, and began to look through it. Inside were photos of her with Goo Ji-seok, emails exchanged with him, and records of her having a child in the US. Her hands began to shake. She looked up, panicked, asking who had done this. Hwang Jin Goo stared at her coldly and said, "You and Goo Ji-seok tried to bring me down together. This is the evidence." She shook her head, denying it, insisting it was a lie. But Hwang Jin Goo was resolute. He told her there was no way to deny the truth with all this proof in front of her. He had checked everything. Yoon Se-young stepped back, biting her lip in an attempt to stay calm, but her gaze wavered. She struggled to explain herself, but Hwang Jin Goo interrupted, saying there would be no more excuses. The moment she betrayed him, it was over. "This is where we end," he said, leaving her with those cold words as he turned his back and walked out. Back in her office, Shin Yeo-jin was furious when she heard the news. She ordered her secretary to call Yoon Se-young immediately. When Yoon Se-young entered, she was still wearing her usual confident look, but it faded when she met Shin Yeo-jin's fierce gaze. Yoon Se-young asked what was wrong, but without answering, Shin Yeo-jin threw a set of documents at her. "Is this true?" she demanded. Yoon Se-young picked them up and quickly saw what was inside. Her face went pale as she stammered, asking who had done this. Shin Yeo-jin was seething. She accused Yoon Se-young of acting recklessly in the US and disrespecting their family. Yoon Se-young tried to defend herself, but Shin Yeo-jin wouldn't let up. Yoon Se-young begged for forgiveness, but Shin Yeo-jin slapped her hard across the cheek. "This is the end for you," she said coldly. Yoon Se-young fell to the floor, crying and begging for just one more chance, but Shin Yeo-jin wouldn't listen. She ordered her secretary to make sure Yoon Se-young was removed from the company and barred from any future access. Later that night, Yoon Se-young went to find Goo Ji-seok. When she entered his office, she saw him leaning back in his chair, looking at her with a mocking smile. She trembled as she spoke, telling him she was done with Hwang Jin Goo and that she was about to be kicked out of Hyesung. She begged for his help, asking if they could start over, but Goo Ji-seok only chuckled, showing no pity. He said he wouldn't get involved with someone who has failed, leaving Yoon Se-young speechless. She asked how he could abandon her so easily. Goo Ji-seok coldly reminded her that he didn't need someone who betrayed Hwang Jin Goo. Yoon Se-young, now devastated, realized how much she had been used. Feeling abandoned by both men she had trusted, she ran out of his office, sobbing uncontrollably. With no one to turn to, she was left to face the consequences of her choices.
"'Cause you are beautiful, a beautiful stranger.